Hello and welcome. In this session, we are going to learn how to create and manage the read replica for PostgreSQL in Google Cloud. So we are directly going to follow the notepad, which has all the instructions. For now, we just need to understand a read replica is just a complete copy of PostgreSQL primary instance. Now, uh, I'm in the Google Cloud console. I'm directly going to create the instance and then we will see how to create a read replica on top of that. So this is Cloud SQL console. I'm just going and creating an instance. So this is, I'm going to create PostgreSQL 13 instance. So I'll just say this is PostgreSQL 13, or I'll say this is primary 13 instance. Password, I'll mention some password for Postgre database, Postgre role in PostgreSQL 13. So I have selected the PostgreSQL version 13. In the region, I'm just going to select something which is near to my locations. I'll just say Asia South 1, and I'm not going to select the multiple zones. I'm just going with the single zone, and I'll just say customize my instance. I'm going to have not a very lightweight, but a medium size or a standard size. So I'll just say two virtual CPUs and 7.5 GB of RAM. In terms of the storage, we are not going to perform any additional activity. So we are just going to use 10 GB of the storage. I don't want to auto increment it. And encryption, we are not going to use whether it is customer managed encryption key or it is provided by the Google Cloud. We are going to have it with the public IP, and we are going to add the our IP. So this is my temporary IP. I'm going to I'll just say this is client IP so that I can connect to my primary instance, and later on I'll connect with my read replica. We're not going to enable the backups. We are just going to take it off. Maintenance window, we are not very concerned because immediately after this, I'm going to delete this flags, nothing, insights, also nothing, levels, also nothing, and just say create instance. Once it is created, and let me show where it will come up. Okay, we should go to Cloud SQL. It will show up over here, and it will the public IP will appear over here, and we will put it into the client tool. We'll try to connect it using pgadmin GUI tool. Let's go ahead and see what is there in the notepad. So the definition for the read replica for PostgreSQL in Google Cloud is a read replica is a complete copy of your PostgreSQL instance, and this is the instance which is getting created. All right. And when you create a read replica, it is going to have the replication established in real time, and the data will be the change, whatever change are happening on the primary. In the real time, it is going to be applied on the read replicas. You can create the read replica in the same region, and also it is possible that you can create the read replica in different region. Then you can choose the zone wherever you want, and that's what the read replica is. Mainly it can be used if you have to perform some kind of testing on your primary instance. It is good to have a read replica created, promote it to the independent instance, and then perform the test, and then delete it or whatever action you want to take. Let me check it out if it is created or not. Still it is going on. Okay, the main purpose of the read replica is if you have an application which is read intensive and your primary instance or your PostgreSQL instance which is serving the application, you want to bifurcate your read operations on one instance and write operations on other instance. In that case, you can code your application in such a way that the read replica, once it is created, it is going to read the information from there, and any write operations it is going to write on your primary SQL instance. And the other important part of read replica is read replicas can be used for the disaster recovery exercise. Since they keep on replicating from the primary instance, it is having the data in the real time, and due to some problem, if your primary environment is not available or due to some reason, what you can do is the read replica which is available, you can promote it. Oh, still sometimes it is taking a lot of time. Immediately after this, I'm not going to connect with this. I'll go ahead and launch the read replica. Come on. Okay, I've given enough CPU, RAM, and memory to this. It should come up anytime. Come up, come up. Okay, this is done. Let's go back to Cloud SQL. Okay, this is my primary instance. I'll hide this info panel. I'll right click on the three dots which are on the extreme right. What you can do is you can customize the column display options also. If you click over here, I just selected a couple of the options which is useful for me. And there are a lot of options available. Whatever is of your interest, you can select. For our case, we just need the public IP in detail. What we will do is we are going to create a read replica. You have the option to create it in the different region and the zone, but for our demo, we are going to keep it in the same so that the creation and the transfer is faster. And automatically it has taken up a name and it has hyphen replica, it has given the name. Machine type will keep same, either same or you can give more than this. Connections also, public IP it has enabled by default, and client IP it has taken from the primary instance which we had created, and we will just say create replica. So instance is being created. Let's go back to the Cloud SQL console, and if you click this, you can see there is something related with that. That means that is a read replica which is getting created. It is going to take 2 minutes or so. In the meantime, what we will do is we will click the primary instance. Now it can be called as primary instance because there is a read replica associated with it. We'll go ahead and copy the public IP, and I'm in PG admin, which is a GUI tool, and we are going to create a connection. You need to remember that when you are going to connect to this instance, uh, the the remote connections, the remote IP which is trying to connect to your instance, there should be a firewall rule enabled. So that we have already done. So I said this is my this is my client IP, this is my system, and you allow the IP. So we mentioned the IP over there. And password, I believe I have given the simple password only. Okay, we are connected. This is my primary instance. And you can see there is a system database called as Cloud SQL admin wherein you don't have the access. And if we go back to the console, this should okay, this will there's still getting created. Once it is created, the public IP will come up over here, and we will see how do we connect to this. We will be able to connect because the client IP is already attached to the instance. And what we need to do is uh, the next step, which is about the promotion. Promotion means we are going to make sure that the replica, which is in the read-only mode, it can accept the read and write operations both. That means the moment you say promote my read replica to the to that way, in that case the replication will be broken up. The read replica, which was earlier attached to your primary instance, will be promoted. It will open up in read write mode and it will be an independent entity. So this particular part can be used for the disaster recovery exercise, or it can be used for some testing wherein you created the read replica for some temporary purpose and then you perform your testing. So this is the fastest way of doing the things. So before you promote your read replica, you have to make sure that it is in sync with your primary instance. Sometimes it really takes a lot of time. Okay, let me go to the primary instance because it is getting created. So if we simply say select star from pg underscore stat underscore replication, okay, you can see uh, the replicated instance is over here. This is my primary instance. And let us see if the read only came up or not. This is still getting created. So once it is launched, since we are not pumping any data on the primary instance, so it is not, we are not performing any write operations, so there will not be any transactions generated and the transaction logs will not be transferred to the read replica. So it should be already in sync, but we will see the commands which we will run on our PG admin tool, which will show like what is the status of the primary in terms of sending the logs, and what is the status of read only replica, how it is accepting or not, if they are in sync with each other or not. Once that is performed, we will go ahead and perform the promotion. If you see, as of now they are attached with each other, so it is still going on, so we cannot see more things about it. Once it is completely launched, we will be able to see it. I'll wait for a couple more. It should not take more than 1 minute or so. Come up. So it gives. I thought this much of the power would be enough, but I think that was not enough. I should have given more than this. Okay, this has came up. This is my read-only replica. I'll copy this public IP. I'll go to the PG admin tool. I'll say to the server, this is my host name. The password remains what it was on the primary instance because this is a replica of primary only. I'll say save. Okay, we are connected. So let me check out which was my primary. Primary was having IP address 115 and 160 is for read replica. 160 is your read replica. If you try to create a database over here, I'll just say testdb. Cannot, it is a read-only transaction. So this is your read replica. What we will next do is we will check the status of replication on the primary. To check the replica's status from the primary instance, you have to execute select star from pg underscore stat underscore replication. So you go to your primary instance. and then you execute this. Oops, I don't know what happens to this. There's the PID. This is the ID username, which is doing this replication, and client IP address. That means this is the IP address of your read replica, the port where it is listening, and it has almost all the details which is required for the replication. This from the primary side. On the read-only replica, what we will do is to check the replica status from replica instance. We are going to execute this. This our read replica. This is our read replica, and here what we will do is I'm going to execute the query over here. So I'll say select star from pg underscore stat underscore well receiver. So on the receiving end, we wanted to see what is the status of val, which is write ahead logging. So you can say the status is streaming, and it is showing the recent time, the slot it is showing, which is automatically created using the Cloud SQL, and all the details are over here. You can read it. And the next thing we wanted to see is you check whether your application is running or whether it is in the pause stage. You can execute and check the status. It is false, that means it is not paused. If it is true, that means the replication would have been paused. You fire it from primary or the read-only replica, you will be able to see this. And you can check whether the transaction that has been received from the primary, but if it has not been applied, you can execute this one. This is our read replica. You can see the Postgre last wall receive LSN is last three digits are 528, and the replay is also 528. That means everything is same. And now the final thing which we are going to do is which was supposed. So as of now, if you click this, if you expand it, they are associated because it is a read replica of this one. The moment for I wanted to do some testing, or because of DR exercise, I wanted to check whether this is having the complete data of primary or not. I can go ahead and say promote. And this is important. The operation cannot be undone. Promoting a read replica stops replication and converts the instance to a standalone primary instance with read and write capabilities. That means that there is no replication established. So it is the read replica is no more read replica once you perform this operation. You can always, once it is converted to the read write, this one, let me execute this, promote. It is going to promote, and they will not be any more associated with each other. And if you wanted to create a new read replica, and if you are assuming this is your going to be the primary one, then you can create the read replica from here and you can delete this, assuming this is your new primary. Now this new primary and the actual primary, they are not related with each other. They are independent entities and there is no relationship between them. Once it comes up, you will be able to see that uh, the relationship would have gone. So we'll wait for a minute or so once it is coming up. Okay, you can see there is no relationship between this earlier primary and the new read write PostgreSQL instance. In case you wanted to create a new read replica, and if you assume this is your new primary, you can create and say create read replica. You can create it from here. So this is how the read replicas are going to work. We already checked. Okay, we are all set now. So this is all about the read replica. You can create a read replica of any instance which is already available, and you can select the region and the zone according to your requirement. And in case of any disaster recovery, or in case you wanted to do some testing, you can create the read replica. You can promote it. You can make it as the primary, and then you can create a read replica from the new primary. I hope this concept is going to help.